Prepare to have your health questions answered here on Safe, Effective Natural Solutions with Dr. Todd Binkley, owner of Binkley Healing Center in downtown Ventura. Now, here's Dr. Todd.
Good afternoon. I am Dr. Todd Binkley, non-force chiropractor and practitioner of functional medicine. What is that? Functional medicine basically means using the same diagnostic tests, mostly blood tests, that other doctors use, but instead of trying to diagnose a disease condition that requires pharmaceuticals or surgery or some other invasive medical procedure, identifying functional medicine means using standard blood tests and other diagnostic tests to identify the absence or presence of normal function. Normal function, like when you're in your 20s. So when you're in your 20s or younger, teens, everything is working perfectly. Your blood work looks a certain way. There are ranges that have been established that identify where normal function looks like, what your normal function looks like when you test your blood, when everything in your body is working perfectly. So most doctors ignore that. Most doctors only look for really bad, already advanced, diagnosable disease conditions because everything is insurance-based. Insurance is based on paying for a doctor to treat a disease you already have. No, there's no such thing as health insurance. It's medical insurance. What is called health insurance is medical insurance. It doesn't pay to keep you. There's no insurance company that will pay you anything to do any process or procedure that will make you healthier. There's no health insurance that will pay for your gym membership or to buy a new water filter to drink clean water, or will buy organic food, or will help subsidize you growing your own healthy food or exercising. All of the things that keep you healthy, you have to pay for that yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that. Think about car insurance. That's the analogy I always use. Car insurance doesn't pay for you to keep your car healthy. Car insurance doesn't pay for you to change the oil in your car or put new belts or tires on your car or do any kind of routine maintenance on your car or do anything else that will make your car live long and live well, last longer. Car insurance pays when you crash your car. Very similarly, medical insurance, it's not health insurance. They call it health insurance. Health insurance, air quotes, health insurance, medical insurance pays when you crash your body, when you need medical care, when you end up in the hospital, when you need drugs, when you need when you need surgery, when you need antibiotics and you have an infection. And that's great. That's a great thing. Everybody should have health insurance. Everybody, you pool. The basis of insurance is we all pay a little bit into a pot to pool resources so that when a few need special attention, they'll be covered. That's how insurance works. So there's never going to be any insurance that's going to pay for you to take better care of yourself. I'm sorry. There could be, but then even talking about that gets into politics, and I try to avoid that because no one, it's contentious. But I'll say it quickly now. There are countries in the world where there's one insurance company, and therefore that one insurance company that covers everybody in that country has a potential return on investment by investing in their health. They still usually don't do it. Australia did it. There's a plan. I've never been able to find. I heard about this. I read about it, and I can't find the paper. I wish I could. But I know I read somewhere that the federal government in Australia did a pilot project where they gave everyone basically some of the things that I recommend, that most functional medicine practitioners recommend: a multivitamin with absorbable minerals, more or less 4,000 to 5,000 units of vitamin D, and 1.5 grams of fish oil every day. Something like that. I know I read this and I've never been able to find it. But anyway, they did that and it worked so well, they stopped doing it and made it part of their program. So it is possible for a single payer healthcare system to invest in your health and get a return on investment. But that's never going to happen in the United States of A, because we have multiple insurance companies, and if they invest in your health, then you're going to get healthier and go get cheaper insurance from one of their competitors. There's no way anybody can get, any business can get a return on investment from investing in your health. So that is why health, in quote, air quotes, health insurance, it's not health insurance, it's medical insurance. That's why it doesn't cover anything to do with improving your health. It only pays when you are in a crisis, when you already have diabetes, when you already have hypothyroidism, when you already have a herniated disc, or any other condition that requires medical attention. So on most of these episodes, I try to focus on a specific condition like heart disease, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, the things that can cause heart disease, or dementia. We've covered those in some past episodes. But every week there is literature that comes out in the medical literature, new studies that come out from around the world and in prestigious, a lot of it is in America, but some of the best research for more natural oriented healing is from Europe and other places around the world. And this research is published in peer-reviewed medical journals. Otherwise, it's pointless to look at. And the good stuff, the stuff that is published in peer-reviewed medical journals, is published online in, among other places, Medscape and a couple of other online places push these new studies out to doctors everywhere. This is where most doctors get their information these days. It's where I get it. I spend 20, 30 hours a week reading this stuff, skimming through it and identifying the stuff that's interesting. I ignore a lot of it because it's not interesting. But so, among other things, some recent studies came out about niacin. So niacin is vitamin B3, and approximately 100 years ago, there was a widespread deficiency. That was how niacin was discovered, basically, is there was a disease called pellagra, and it was at its peak in the southern United States of America about 100 years ago. Over 120,000 people died between 1900 and 1920 due to a deficiency that had yet to be discovered, which was a deficiency in vitamin B3 niacin. So how ironic is it that there was a major news study from the Cleveland Clinic that said, oh my God, niacin can increase your risk of heart disease. It was published on NBC News. The headline is, high levels of niacin linked to heart disease. New research suggests. No, it doesn't. If you actually read the research upon which this ridiculous headline is based, it suggests nothing of the sort. In fact, it says that, this is really frustrating to me because it's from the Cleveland Clinic. The Cleveland Clinic is an excellent, normally, almost always, an excellent resource of health information. But this study was published from Stanley Hazen's group at the Cleveland Clinic, but it didn't study niacin. It studied, and it's a little technical, but there's no way around it. The study involves a measurement of plasma metabolites that correlate with major adverse cardiovascular events, right? So you can be forgiven for having your head spin at that series of words that's really confusing. And the study itself, it just doesn't hold up. If you review it, what they studied was, it's interesting. So metabolites are important. There are tests that I use, often urine tests. There are important tests that measure metabolites of processes in the body to identify unusual things that don't show up on other tests. So it's a useful test, but this test, the test that was used in this study, didn't measure the consumption of niacin. It measured a metabolite of niacin, which is associated with niacin consumption, but not directly. So it proved nothing, basically. And it's ridiculous on its face B vitamins are in food. They're in meat. They're in meat organs. They're in grains. And they're essential. Everyone knows that the word vitamin means vital amine. And vitamins were discovered in the early 20th century because people were dying from diseases that they discovered that if you just fed them some food, in the case of B vitamins, liver, they suddenly survived. And so everyone now knows that vitamins are essential so any study, if you ever hear or read about any study that says any vitamin is dangerous, you should really, the best thing to do would be to email or text me. But even if you don't have time for that, just ignore it. There's so many ridiculous studies published about so-called dangers of vitamins when 100,000 people die every year from the toxic side effects of medications. Medications are dangerous. They're also essential for some people. Vitamins are parts of food that our lives depend on. To suggest that any vitamin is toxic is ridiculous. It's insane. So whenever you look up the basic data, the foundational data, that once you get past the headline and look up the study that people are referencing to produce these ridiculous headlines that say any vitamin is dangerous, the conclusion is always the same. It was a poorly done study. It didn't measure what it said it was measuring. It didn't use appropriate doses. It didn't use the correct forms of that vitamin. And that's why it's so important, if you want to live long and live well, to seek out the counsel of a functional medicine practitioner, someone whose interest is in not pushing drugs, but instead restoring normal, healthy function of all of your organs and systems. I'm Dr. Todd Binkley. You're listening to Safe, Effective, Natural Solutions to Almost Any Health Challenge, and today I'm doing a review of some of the just some of the latest things that have come out in the medical literature. We talked about niacin. Let's move on to another study, which is headlined "Abdominal Fat Deposits are related to lower cognitive functioning and brain volumes in middle-aged males at high Alzheimer's risk." So basically it means that if you have a belly, if you have a big gut sticking over your belt, it's going to increase your risk of Alzheimer's. Why is that? And I know it's really frustrating because it seems unfair. People want to get on with their lives and their bellies expand as they get older, but the research is in. Belly fat is different than fat in your thighs or your arms or your calves or any other part of your body. Belly fat is really bad. Belly fat is the worst. It doesn't mean you need to be, have six-pack abs or be skinny or any of that nonsense that people get so obsessed about. But belly fat is different fat than the fat in other parts of your body. And especially in men, this study has proven that accumulations of that fat increase your risk. I don't know if dramatically is appropriate, but significantly, I think, is the word they use. Increases your fat in the pancreas and other organs, and is directly associated with lower cognition and lower brain volume. And that's just not good. It's unfortunate, but there's ways to test your risk for these things. So, if you're curious about your risk of this, especially if you have a family member that had dementia, and you want to know your risk, there's ways to test for this, including, among other things, the APOE gene. I've talked about this before a few episodes ago. If you have questions about it, send me a text or an email, Dr. Binkley at BinkleyHealingCenter.com. Text me at 805-218-3939. I love answering people's questions. So here's another headline. Intermittent fasting. There was this ridiculous research, or not research, headlines that came out in, I don't know, some media that said intermittent fasting is dangerous. What is intermittent fasting? Intermittent fasting means not eating for most of the day. Basically not eating 3 meals a day. Instead, eating 2 meals a day. But not even that. Intermittent fasting basically means most days, not necessarily every day, but most days, eating breakfast and lunch, or lunch and dinner. Most people do lunch and dinner. Most people skip breakfast, eat lunch, eat dinner, go to sleep, skip breakfast. Not good. It's not a good idea. No one needs. So our culture, and it's wonderful, especially if you have children, if you have a family, people come home at the end of the day, you want to have a nice meal together. I'm not sure how many families even do that anymore. Most people are staring at their screens while they're eating dinner. But the big picture problem is you don't need food to sleep. It's for almost everyone, it's much better to do it like the Europeans and eat your biggest meal of the day at lunch. Eat a big lunch and eat something when you wake up in the morning that includes fat and protein, not starch and sugar. So eat a protein and fat-rich breakfast and a huge lunch and skip dinner. That's what I do. I never eat dinner. I occasionally go out to dinner. It's a whole cultural thing. It's lovely to have fantastic meals at dinner. But anything that you eat at dinner, you can eat for lunch as well. They legalized that several years ago. You can eat anything you want at lunch, or even breakfast. You can eat leftovers for breakfast, things that you had for dinner the night before. So it's really important just to remember that, or know that you want to consume food when your body needs it, when you're actually healing and repairing your cells. And it takes a while. It takes a few hours for whatever you eat, whatever you chew and swallow. Remember to chew your food. There's no teeth in your stomach. It's really important to chew your food. Chew your food until it's like the consistency of baby food. Otherwise, you're not going to get the nutrients from that food. Chew your food, swallow it, it goes into your stomach. It takes a few hours for it to work its way through your intestines and eventually end up in your bloodstream. So you are not what you eat. You are what ends up in your bloodstream. Your body is made of what actually your body is capable of absorbing into your bloodstream through your intestines. So if you eat starch and sugar, that's absorbed really, really quickly. If you eat vegetables and meat, it takes a little longer to break those things down and absorb them. And that's what you want. You want foods that take time to slowly break down and absorb into your system, which is why it makes no sense to have our biggest meal of the day in the evening, right before you're going to go to bed. Or if you're going to have dinner and have your biggest meal in the evening, please, do it at 5 or 6 o'clock. Sometime. The goal should be to try to have your last meal at least 4 or preferably 5 hours before you lie down, before you go to bed. Because then it's going to work its way, that food is going to work its way through your digestive system. Those nutrients are going to start to be broken down and absorbed and used to heal and repair the damage that's caused by normal life. Every day we walk around and cause damage to our cells that require repair. Our bodies require routine maintenance every single day. And the routine maintenance requires a steady supply of nutrients. I like to think of, and I encourage you to think of your bloodstream as a river of life. So your bloodstream is a river of life, supplying nutrients to every cell in your body for healing and repair projects that are ongoing, that are waiting. Imagine a river with a construction crew on both sides, both banks of the river. They're sitting there, they've got all their equipment, they're ready to fix the cells of your pancreas or your spleen or your liver or your heart or your joints, your bones, your brain, whatever part needs healing and repair that day, they're sitting there waiting on the banks of the river, and your bloodstream is either full of nutrients that they need to make that project happen or not. Most of the time, it's not. People eat calorie-rich food that fills them up, makes them feel full, so they stop eating, and that crap food, bread, rice, pasta, sandwiches, junk food, prepared meals, has no nutrients in it, no vegetables, no meat, no good protein, no healthy fats like avocados and nuts and oils from seeds, etc. And so they just think they're good. You feel good, you ate, you feel fine. But eventually you don't feel fine because you haven't provided the river of life, your bloodstream, with the nutrients it needs to give those construction crews on both sides of the riverbank the nutrients necessary to heal and repair your tissues. This is how disease happens. This is how your body breaks down. No one tells you that. Have you ever heard anyone tell you that before? Disease is not random. It doesn't just suddenly show up. There are rare, very rare genetic conditions, but they're not even worth thinking about. If you have one, doesn't matter. There's nothing you can do about it. And they're also really, really, really rare. Most of the diseases that people end up going to doctors for, end up in the hospital for, are the result of neglect, of bad behavior and neglect, of eating too much grains, starch, and sugar, too much bread, too much sugary crackers and cakes, cookies, bagels, donuts, French fries, too much sugary drinks, beer, fruit juices. There's no good fruit juice. Nobody should drink orange juice or any other fruit juice. Eat the fruit if you want it. If you want the nutrients in fruit, there's lots of nutrients in certain fruits. Eat the fruit. Most fruits, many fruits, most of the fruits that people love the most are way too sweet. So I recommend that most people don't eat most fruit, like grapes, oranges, melons, pineapple. There's wonderful, amazing enzymes in pineapple, but the fruit itself is too sweet. The only fruit that I think justifies the sugar content are berries, blueberries, raspberries, elderberries, blackberries, any kind of berries. They're also pretty sweet, but how many of them are you going to eat? They're expensive. It's very rare for anybody to eat too many blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, elderberries, any kind of berries, because they have some sugar in them, like all other fruits, but they also are full of nutrients, antioxidants, so they're worth eating. If you like to make a shake in the morning, I'm just thinking of this because it comes up a lot. A lot of people like to make a shake, blend some fruits and protein powder. If you're going to do that, I recommend adding some berries, no sugar, some berries. No unsweetened almond milk is better, or regular milk is okay, but unsweetened almond milk is better than soy milk or some of the other crap, air quotes, milks that people drink. And if you're going to add, a lot of people like to add a banana. A banana is nice, but also often too sweet. The way to make it not too sweet is to buy organic bananas, which keep a little bit longer, and when they're still green, cut the tips off and peel them, cut them into little 1-inch segments, freeze them overnight, and then put them in a bag the next morning, and they'll be ready to throw into your shake. I'm Dr. Todd Binkley. We're out of time. Thank you for listening. I'll look forward to talking to you right here on KDAR next week.
You've been listening to Safe, Effective Natural Solutions with Dr. Todd Binkley. If you have a health question you want discussed on the show, email your health questions to Dr. Binkley at binkleyhealingcenter.com. Take advantage of this opportunity to ask questions for yourself and for your loved ones, because our health matters. Join him next Friday at 4 p.m. for safe, effective natural solutions, right here on 98.3 The Word, KDAR.